Welcome on in, Dark Angels fans. This is Spruce and Studs, and we have a very big video ahead of us. We don't normally review 3 action figures in one video, but it's now time to change that. So in this video, we are going to be looking at the 3 redesigned Deathwing Knights, and hopefully these Terminators fare better than the less than tepid reaction that Belial got. In some of your comments, whew, they were brutal. So let's get to the review. Let's start off with Deathwing Knight 1 because it only makes sense. The half halo up here is a unique feature only to this Terminator, and that sets him apart from the rest of his brothers, which is a nice thing to see. The design pattern of these helmets are much better than your Hippo Primaris Terminators that were featured with the Ultramarines as well as the Blood Angels. I love the glaring red lenses as well as this interesting gold bar that runs north and south of this area. I'm also a big fan of this vent that is obviously sword-shaped. The Crux Terminatus on the left pauldron is once again a magnificent example of what JoyToy can do if they decide to highlight by dry brushing. You can obviously see the massive texturing in this area. Then you also see the shading on the edges of this bone-colored armor panel, which follows the same design as Belial as well as the old Deathwing Knights. The right pauldron has a nice and raised Dark Angels chapter symbol, which I am a big fan of. And finally, this heraldic or tilt shield is unique to this Terminator as well. Much like Belial, this Terminator has a cloth covering the chest area, and I do enjoy the shading here that JoyToy has given to this area. And of note, this Dark Angel's amulet is made of a soft and flexible kind of material. The waist area is covered with these tassets here, and there are a total of 3 of them, as I am showing you right now. I really like these decorations that GW has given this knight in the form of this purity seal, this belt buckle icon, as well as this rather striking dagger with a scabbard. This cord itself is attached to the waist via this ball and socket joint that I just demonstrated, and you can remove the dagger from the sheath, and you can also remove the scabbard away from the plastic cord. I'd have to say that the shading on the legs is really prominent, mainly because there aren't, well, many decorations in this area at all. I like the usage of the studs right here, as well as this massive crux to sort of break up the plainness of the area. Moving along, the unique piece that comes with this Deathwing Knight 1 is this teleport homer. And look, the homing beacon on top is actually colored with metallic paint. It's as if JoyToy actually listened to me. I really highly doubt that they did. Otherwise, I believe this is the same kind of structure that you would find in the other teleport homers that have been released prior to this one. This storm shield is a very imposing piece of protection, as it covers about 2/3 of the height of the Terminator. I love the very prominent usage of the Dark Angel's monk, as well as the use of liberal shading on the wing areas. I also find it's great that JoyToy gave us 2 handles to attach to the shield. I think the first one is the best one because it provides a handle for the Terminator to grip on, and this plastic band right here further stabilizes the whole entire setup. Then you get a very simple handle too. This power sword is also a very impressive work of art in my opinion. I love it how JoyToy never fails to give this fantastic metallic gradient to the shaft of the blade. And the writing here is engraved to the plastic, which gives you a deeper sense of depth. The colors overall match the color palette of the figure, which is another nice touch. Now, if you are enjoying this action figure review, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button so that you can get notified for even more action figure reviews, whether it be Warhammer 40K or Horus Heresy. The next one we're going to take a look at features a 40K Jawa, but now let's take a look at the Terminator. As I said before in many past reviews, I absolutely love it how from afar you know that these Terminators belong together as a squad, and there's a sense of cohesiveness that GW purposely gives them. Then, however, upon closer inspection, there are subtle differences that set these Terminators apart from each other, which gives them all a sense of uniqueness as well as focus on the individualities. The helmet area for the most part is the same in all the Terminators, but this one lacks the halo and actually has a different icon for the vent area. Pauldron-wise, this one has a less decorative Crux Terminatus, but does not lack in texture. I still love looking at the dry brushing in this area. Then on the opposite shoulder, you have a prominent Dark Angels chapter symbol, except this one does not have a banner that is running across it. Because this thing is so naked, I also now notice that the symbol could use some shading too, since it is the only decoration in this area. Then the heraldic shield here has an icon that's very similar to the icon that is on his storm shield. Overall, the waist is the same too, except there is a different pendant that is dangling down in the form of 2 skulls versus this one right here, and I think I prefer this pendant because it is more unique looking. Then you can tell the construction of the legs are also different because this Terminator has kneecaps and a simple crux that is affixed to the right knee too. In all honesty, I think I prefer the leg area of this one because I like having more defined areas, but that's just my preference. And just to point out, the back is also the same as the first Terminator that we looked at already. Moving on to the Storm Shield, the overall shape is the same, but the design patterns are completely different. I think that these designs are rather simplistic looking, but you know what, it does the job. It also appears that this one's power sword is simpler than his brother's too, because there's no engraving on the blade, nor is there this fancy gold area that sits on top of the hilt. Obviously, due to the design cues of the previous power sword, I prefer this one rather than this more simple one. However, I think the star of the show is this deep purple robed jowl. I love the highlights that have been given to the highest cloth regions of the robes. Seriously, I love how fantastic this Watcher in Dark looks with all this detail being boosted because of all these highlights. I really wish that JoyToy could do more of this a lot more often on their more modern action figures. Finally, the Watcher has the scepter, which also has highlights that accent the bindings down here. Then I find the smoke effect rather interesting as it emanates from the eye of the skull. Moving on to the third and final Terminator, let's quickly spot the differences. Again, the vent area on the helmet is different, but the pauldrons are exactly the same. Then you have this heraldic shield that features a broken sword, which I really like because it matches the icon on the storm shield. Out of all 3 of them, I really like the chest area of this one because the cloth does not cover this whole entire area. You can see that the cloth is parted like the Red Sea, revealing the Dark Angels chapter symbol. And look, there is a ton of shading that can be found between the feathers. Then the waist area appears to be reversed from the other figures, with the dagger being on the right side rather than the left. Then this pendant that is dangling down features bones instead of skulls, in which I really have no preference in which I like better. Then this lower leg area matches brother number 2 rather than brother number 1. The power sword unfortunately features the more simplistic design of brother 2 as well. And then the patterning on the storm shield is completely different from the rest of the 2, with this prominent broken sword in the middle of it, along with this highly raised banner over here with Mortis engraved on it. The only critique that I have is I think I would have preferred the shield to be a little bit of a different color because it sort of blends in with the color of the Terminator too much. So I think that this Caliban green probably would have been better for this area. And finally, here's the back of the shield, and it matches the back of all 3 other shields too, with these prominent power nodes all over the place. And the final thing that I'm going to say is, thankfully, there are no restrictions of motion on any of these action figures, which is fantastic because you want all the movement on an action figure. And so some of you may want to see a size comparison, and here you go. Clearly, this Terminator is monstrously towering over this version 3 Intercessor. And then you have Titus over here, which represents a version 4 action figure. And Belial is exactly the same size as this Deathwing Terminator. And then we have the older model of the Deathwing Knight action figure, which is obviously shorter than the modern one. And then finally, we have a Primaris Ultramarine that is the exact same height as this Deathwing Knight. You like this force of Terminators right here? I sure as hell do. So throughout the time that I was reviewing these action figures, I found that the heft of them was actually quite satisfying. The overall construction of these Terminators is very sturdy, as JoyToy did use the same beefed up metal links, especially for the leg to waist region. Not only are these action figures really easy to pose, they are really stable too, and obviously that depends on what pose that you actually give them, but they don't have any tough time standing on their own. I think that the designs that GW gave these 3 redesigned Deathwing Knights is amazing, with each and every single one of them having their own unique panache. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I like these grunt Terminators a lot more than Belial's action figure. So it is without question, I highly recommend Terminator lovers to buy these action figures. And for Dark Angels fans, I believe that this purchase of these three is an absolute no-brainer. However, I suppose if you were in a financial bind and could only buy one or two of these Terminators, I would highly recommend the one with the 40K Jawa as well as the one with the Teleport Homer. And if you are so inclined to buy these action figures, there is only one place to get them at, and that is at David Toys. Just click on the link in the description below, or you will be brought to their online website, where they feature a vast variety of Warhammer 40K as well as Horus Heresy action figures that we review on this channel. And before you check out, do not forget to use the code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase, because it helps you save money in the end, and then helps me make money off of commission, but then helps you again because the money that I make gets pumped right back into the channel. And members of the chapter, as usual, I am very curious to hear what are your thoughts on these action figures. Just leave a comment in the comment section below. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching this action figure review. I appreciate all of your views, and especially those of you who use my affiliate code. I think though, for a future video, I'm going to probably have to do a comparison of the OG Deathwing Knights versus these new ones. So look forward to that video sometime in the future. And with that being said, I'll see you all in the next one.